Welcome to the If We Had the Pencil podcast. I'm your host, Sean Green, and with me, as always, is Matt Jackson. And guess what? Mania is finally over. Raw After Mania is finally over. We got a lot to talk about, so we're just going to jump into it. But Matt, how you feeling after these 3 days of Mania extravaganza?
God, tired. No, it was no from Friday Night SmackDown to the Hall of Fame to the two nights and then to the Raw after WrestleMania. It was a lot of stuff. So, but it was we're gonna get into it. But there was some stuff I loved, some stuff was okay, and then there's some stuff I hope they never do again.
I agree. I mean, you stop and think about it. Just as fans were exhausted, just think of how exhausted the talent was because they were doing a lot more than us outside of that. So credit to them.
Yeah,
So
meet and greets and all that. Yeah.
I'm going to preface this because I'm front loading all my rants because boy, do I got a few and I cannot get them. I got to get this off my chest. First off, I'm going to deal with the Croc. In Triple H's words, bro, keep The Rock away from WWE. I never want to see The Rock around WWE ever, ever again. And by the way, thank you to Dave LaGreca from Busted Open for 2 days worth of F bomb laden tirades about this crap because that's exactly how I felt. Look, that dude screwed up last year's build because he just, Cody wins the Rumble. He shows up and he's just like, I'm The Rock. I'm going to be the main event. You go over there and do things and stuff. Like, who that, like, look, I think in The Rock's head, The Rock honestly thinks he's like the greatest booker on earth. And in reality, The Rock is horrible. He's a horrible writer. He's a horrible booker. He sat there and, man, I heard a giant boom outside. I thought it was the artillery going off from the base over here. No, that was him throwing Triple H under the effing bus. Like, it was beyond ridiculous what he did. And let me tell you, man, I, whoo, Nelly. First off, anything that dude touches turns to crap. He tried to touch the WrestleMania build last year, turned to crap. Netflix premiere, it cringe as all hell. Even his stuff was the only thing he did right because he didn't say an effing word was his thing at Elimination Chamber with Cena, which turns out we didn't need because why the hell is he there? And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't I don't deny that Ari Emanuel probably called him and was like, "Hey, can you show up, boost some ticket sales?" Like all the other crap he said on Pat McAfee's show, he's full of shit, and I'm not buying it because you know what he did last year when he screwed everything up? He went out and he freaking did damage control. What did he do this time? He screwed up and he's out doing damage control. And then on top of that, just keep him away from wrestling. Like I can't handle it anymore. Like, can he just do Stone Cold's thing? Come out, get a pop, run a ATV into a wall, whatevs. I don't care. Everybody gets to cheer. Yay, The Rock. He gets what he wants. He's a baby face. He's over, which is all he really wants. But no, he injected himself in the most important storyline of this year, and he never showed up for it. And he sent his little crony, Travis Scott, and thought, and then had the nerve to say, oh, I would have done it better or different or whatever. Like, screw that dude, man. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I don't know how to follow that, so I think we should just wrap up the show for tonight. No, I'm kidding. Uh yeah, it's like I said, he's either selfish or stupid or both. And it's as a wrestling fan, even I'm not saying I'm a genius wrestling fan, but somewhat educated wrestling fan, even a casual wrestling fan, I think it's insulting just to do that. It's especially with the hard work that Triple H puts in and Road Dogg puts in and Khan and all the team up there puts in, and then like he's like the Tasmanian devil that just comes through the room and throws a tantrum and just makes a frickin' mess and leaves.
He
So
reminds me
I'm
of
tired
that
of it.
Raw. He reminds me of that Raw after Mania where Vince just came in, shredded the entire script, screwed everything up, and it was the worst Raw after Mania ever. That's what I feel like The Rock does to some of these builds. It's just, and then his damage control is even worse. It's just horrible. But I had to get that off my chest because it was really gnawing at me because, like, look, if you knew you weren't going to show up, like, don't put yourself in it because what you did was you backed the writers into a corner. John Cena's a big boy. He's fully capable of doing his own thing after that. He's a big boy. He's proved it. Now, the fans ain't cooperating. We'll talk about that in a minute, but
Yep.
we'll get there. All right.
So,
So,
real quick before we move on, so the really big tragedy of The Rock not showing up at WrestleMania and sending out that 130-pound pimple named Travis Scott. Um, when you see a movie or you go to a concert or you watch a show on TV, what do you remember most?
I don't know.
Usually the last thing you see, right? The ending of
Fair
the
enough.
movie, the encore of the concert. That sometimes that's a make or break the concert. So if you look back at like night one, and you had the Happy Jey Uso story, and then you had a pretty good match with Flair and Strat, and then you had I don't like using the word banger, but there's no other way to describe it other
It
than
was a banger.
it was a magnificent banger, incredible. So you leave night one, and everybody's just like stoked, and then I was so primed for night two and the first three matches off the gate, the women's triple threat. Then you had the IC title. What was the other one? The street fight. They started off Sunday night like bang. And I remember texting you and I said this could be one of those like memorable nights we talk about. And so, folks, for the needle to start dropping on the second half of WrestleMania night two, that might be my fault because it started happening right after I texted Sean. And yeah, we'll get more into detail with the main event. But yeah, I think it just soured me on the show. Like right away, I was just like, oh, that was terrible. But the more I thought about it, kind of ate at me because originally, like, I had the match pretty good. It was an old style wrestling match. I think it worked well, and it was telling a good story in the ring. And then the last 4 minutes, Travis Scott comes in, does this silly stuff. Cody A, he gets his moment where he crossroads Travis Scott, which made me very happy. And then it ends with Cody getting kicked in the balls by Cena, and then like laid out with the belt. And after they kicked out of what, like 38 finishers, like in the match. So yeah, uh, sure.
Remember, it's
Back,
the cinema title, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll
well,
get there, Matt. We'll get
and that,
there.
that was a B-rated horror movie then. Good
Bruce
God.
Campbell would be proud. All right. So I have a couple other little outside stuff rants that I got. All right. And it's funny you mentioned Travis Scott. If I never hear that effing song ever freaking again, it'll be too soon. I am so sick of that one song. To be honest with you, when his intro hit for him to come out, I was just like, I am really sick of this song. So I'm happy it's over now. I don't have to listen to it, and I hope it never comes back, and he can go on his merry way. Um, Karrion Cross did some stuff, and let me tell you,
Oh,
Karrion Cross just like he was like, "Oh, you're not going to strap a rocket to my back? That's cool. I'll do it myself." Whoop. He let the rocket and just went. He went off on some podcast or I don't even know what show, so I
it,
can't give him
it
credit
was
for it.
it was Sam, the bald-headed guy that does the pre-show. Sam.
And
Oh, I got.
I I didn't see the whole thing. I only saw what got dropped on social media, but like when he did that, I was like, "Good for you. That was good."
Well, you know what was even better about it? He didn't take 5, 10, 15 minutes. It was under 3 minutes. And
No,
he 3 minutes from when he walked in, sat down, grabbed the mic, then threw the mic down and walk out was less than 3 minutes. And I mean, that was a I don't that was such a good it was a great work shoot. I
it
mean,
was a good work
uh,
shoot, but what's even better is after the last match of night two, him doing that, it was like, oh, between Dave LaGreca and Karrion Cross right now, I'm like, you guys are my spirit animals. You guys are awesome. So I was real happy with it. We did say in our previous podcast that we thought Karrion Cross was about to get a push, and I think he definitely is. I think his character right now is like kind of coming together. I don't think it's fully flushed out yet, but I do think that he's got something going. He's got a hot hand, and we're going to see a lot more of Karrion Cross moving forward. Um, Going back to the Cody thing, all right, and I only bring this up front because it's going to kind of feed into as we go through the rest of the, our little recap here. Cody getting booed. So look, you mentioned it to me on Friday. You mentioned it to me on Sunday, and I think you're right. I think Vegas is a heel town, and I don't think we can take clear metrics from is Cody really in the doghouse or what. Do believe, I agree with Bully Ray, another busted open reference, but I got to give him his props. I agree with him. Keep him away for a little bit, make absence grow the heart fonder,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of hit the reset switch on Cody. But you better have a banging program for him to climb back up the ladder because we know he's not going to Cena right away. I don't think he ever wrestles Cena again, to be honest with you. I think he took one for the team, and but again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
Hey, any thoughts on Vegas being a heel town?
Oh, definitely was, because then they made Dominic Mysterio the like most hated guy by the fans for like what the last year and a half, like the most over baby face. Like when he won the
He got a
title,
curtain call.
yeah, 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 he did. And actually, I was watching it with my wife, and when he came running back to the ring, and I'm like, well, that's rare, because how often do we really see a curtain call nowadays, where the guy actually, I mean, he was almost to the back, and the fans wouldn't let him leave. So I think it's a heel town. With Dom going forward, we'll see if this Judgment Day
We'll touch on it.
fantasy thing goes forward. But let's get to a neutral location because they get ready to go through the Midwest, and the Midwest is kind of a little bit more reserved and old fashioned. We'll see how that parlays into things.
Yep. And then one interesting thing that I saw the first stat for night one, and it actually worked out in night two. Night one, 3 title changes. Night two, 3 title changes. 6 of the titles changed. And that is very impressive. Like, that's a lot of upheaval for your roster right now. But I think they all made sense. All the title changes made sense, even if they did it in a crappy way. And then finally, WWE acquiring AAA Wrestling out of Mexico. I think I just, you know, you and I were kind of talking about it off the side. It's huge. And just by coincidence, yes, I am wearing a Daniel Suarez hat, the number 99 Trackhouse car. But, hey, we're talking AAA Wrestling, so why not?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I do think it's big. And I'll kind of graze over it again get to the when we get to the El Grande Americano
Yeah.
piece. So
Yeah, I'm happy about AAA. I mean, have you ever seen the original When Worlds Collide pay-per-view? It was back in the night. I mean, Eddie Guerrero and Art Barr and a young Rey Mysterio and gosh, I can't remember them all. You can find it on YouTube. It's real easy to find. Phenomenal stuff. And then a very young Conan in the main event against Paraguayo Senior in a cage. Pretty brutal match, but you'll be surprised on how young Conan looked back in the early '90s.
I used to like him a lot,
He was
but
he was good. I think he does a lot of good stuff for the business too. He's
on
had
the backside he does. I've heard some of his stuff, and I was like, ooh, he's a nice little ambassador out there doing things, and you know, good for him. But no, good for AAA. I look forward to the When
WWE.
Worlds Collide. I think it's going to be great. Um, you know, WWE's definitely got his fair share of high flyers right now. I think they can put together a great PLE, but like I said, we'll touch on it a little later when we get into the Chad Gable match. But let's night one. So what is your overall take on night one of WrestleMania?
Night one. I mean, the main event was definitely that was the show stealer. I mean, that was the main reason for that show. So, and then behind that, of course, was Jay winning the world title, which is a great moment. Um, some people on social media not liking the match. I liked the match. I thought it made sense. And I think it was busted open. We'll talk about that. And the host there, what's his name? The guy
Dave
that
LaGreca?
Dave LaGreco said he wanted a bloodbath, and like they started talking about the lockup and how important that is. And I think the match was fine. It was a standard match. Jay's not going to want to risk getting DQ'd or let his anger get the best of him because that could have been his last shot. So I think it was booked quite well. Trying to think, what was night one? Was we had El Grande and Ray Phoenix. I think Ray Phoenix did a great job considering what he got stuck with. But overall for the night, good, not great.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think that uh, teetering on great, but mostly because of that, main event at
Oh,
the
that
end of the night.
stepped it up
You know,
big time. Pulled it up.
So we'll go through a quick recap, talk about how it relates to the Raw After Mania and where we see some of this stuff going. So that obviously, like you just mentioned, the first match was Jay and Gunther. I think it was the right outcome. I know we mentioned this in our pre-Mania show. I really do hope that they give Jay a little bit of a run. I see a lot on social media right now, like, oh, great, now take the belt off him. I'm like, bro, give him a month or two. Like, I just want a couple of good title defenses, build some story, then have him drop it. The celebration they did on Raw was really well done, and I'll tell you why. Because everybody was watching that and how Sammy was reacting, and you're just like, oh, Sammy's gonna go heel. And all of us thought it, especially when Sammy was down and Jay's up on the ropes, and you're just like, and I say it was well done because they swerved us a little bit and they said, no, either not yet or not at all. But it was just like, it was really well done because, again, all us marks out there were just like, oh, here it comes. Here it comes. I'll be interested to see where they go with Gunther now. I think it'll all kind of flush out. So NFL drafts this week, which means WWE's draft is upcoming. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I hope I hope that Jay gets a little bit of time with the belt. I don't need a ton, just a little bit. And then I understand the why for Monday night, but I really was wishing Reigns would have came out. He didn't even have to do anything. He could have came out and just pointed at Jay, threw up the number one. I think somebody mentioned on Busted Open or someplace, but I thought it was a brilliant idea. Just give him a little nod, something. But Roman is alone now. But the second half of the Roman Reigns story is he has to be humbled. So not having Roman comes out kind of leads into that. So, but yeah, anything else on that match or
Well,
anything else about
well,
those parties?
yeah, the party at the end when Roman was getting smacked around by Seth and all them, like you didn't see Jimmy and Jay and Sammy come out to help. And so, we're not at that point yet. I think, they got to keep it separate because Roman is still too self-centered about Roman Reigns to be able to want to be happy for somebody else. Because if he's not happy, then nobody else should be happy. Like, unless it's because of his happiness they're happy, and then it's okay.
Yeah, acknowledging him.
Yes, right. So for him to come out there, I think, and acknowledge Jay, to congratulate him, is it a way of acknowledgement? Roman's not there yet.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk a little more about Roman in a little bit. There's a little bit more meat on the bone. So I'm gonna let you take a bulk of this one. War Raiders and the New Day. And my only take on this, and this kind of contributes to the way night one went, meh.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of notes on this. One thing I did write, though, I was not excited about this match going in, but the match was a little bit better than I expected. And then, of course, I'm thinking like, well, yeah, it's a New Day. They've worked with everybody, so they can't have a total stinker of the match. And then Eric and Ivar always do cool stuff, so it was going to be at least a decent match anyway. So it did exceed my expectations. I know what they're trying to do with the New Day, and I like the New Day, and I wanted them to get the title at some point. But here, I think you could have had the Raiders retain at WrestleMania, and they could have either lost it the day after WrestleMania or the Raw next week. They could have dropped it in a rematch.
I don't know if you gain anything, and let's
Yeah,
let's be
it's not
let's
it's
be
not a needle mover. It's just I would have preferred the War Raiders kept it just because of all they went through. It would have been nice for them to get a W, but then I had a feeling New Day was going over because during the pre-show and at the beginning before the match, they were hopping on like, oh, well, as a team, they're 0-5 at WrestleMania, and I think what Woods has never won anything single anyway. So I'm like, oh, New Day's going over. So I mean,
Well, I
it'll
think
work
that
out.
also pushed them past the Usos again. I think them and the Usos are going back and forth. So there's also like a little bit of a record there. I could be wrong on that one, but no, because when the last Uso win put them over New Day for most, tag team titles. So that means they're either tied or ahead. So they might be tied again, but which means you could always run back the Usos, but I hope they don't do that. Let Jay be Jay for right now.
And
But
if anybody out there knows exactly what the title numbers are, I mean, we can look it up, but feel free to put them in the comments and make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us on this journey.
so after that, we got Jade and Naomi. I think this is the best Jade's looked since coming to WWE. I think Naomi did a great job controlling that match. And what I mean by that is not like in ring performance. I mean like calling that match, controlling that match, putting everything in. That match was as good as it was because Naomi did a great job of managing everything going on in the ring. Um, and there's not much to add to this story because like we talked about in the last episode too, this is all about that stupid love triangle. So like I'm 100% convinced that they're going to go tit for tat, back and forth all the way until SummerSlam. So there's going to be something going on, there'll be drama building up to it, and then, you know, uh, I won't say the rest of it, but yeah, I think that's just going to continue. That's what those women's story is, and it'll just keep going. So,
Um, but we had both picked Naomi to go over, and they went with Jade. And I still think they should have went with Naomi just for this first round, because I think you could build it up where, because Jay wants revenge, of course, for the attack. So she got like a pretty good measure of it. I mean, not just beating her in a standard match, but winning on WrestleMania. So she got a lot of her revenge back. And to me, I want that to have a little bit more legs between those two. So I really think Naomi should have cheated to win. She should have went over, but she should have cheated. Whether it just be foot on the ropes, for leverage or pulling the tights, something. And that way you can continue it. And it just seems like we just had Naomi turn heel, and it's like her first big match, like she loses. So I just, I just don't agree with Jade getting over. It should have been Naomi.
this is one of those weird ones where I think you could have went either way. I think the bigger thing is how you follow it up, right? So she can eat that loss, but you can follow it up and make it mean something. So I think it does because, you know, where I think the storyline is going. And like I said, I'll talk about it when we get to the triple threat for the women. But there's a way I think the story is going, and I think that'll make this win for Jade make a little more sense, and then it'll start setting the seeds for the rest of it. So after that, we had LA Knight, yeah, and Jacob Fatu. I'm good with the call. You and I kind of hemmed and hawed. Well, mostly me.
No,
I
I
hemmed
had
and
fought
hawed.
too from the get go.
You know, just it doesn't really affect where we think the story is going because we both said that if Fatu wins, you can go this route, and if LA Knight wins, you can go this route. Well, Solo only walked him out to the stage. Great. So Solo's not involved. So that part I was wrong. My bad. Anyways, I think so. What I think we're gonna get is what we talked about. We're gonna get Jacob looking at Solo like, you ain't one squat. Like, I don't care about you. Let's move on. So I think that'll feed the friction. You'll have a cook-off match for the title now for both of them, and then you'll get split loyalties. Maybe, you know, which one's out? Tungaloa.
Yes.
Yeah, Tungaloa comes back. He's on Solo side. So there's a lot of ways you can go. Like, we did kind of cover our bases and hedged our bet on this one, but no, Fatu was amazing, and honestly, LA Knight was an amazing too. That was a fun match to
It
watch,
was.
and it was really well done. So, of the vibes for night one being off, I think that match still was really
I,
effing good.
it was solid. It was solid too, and it went a little bit over 11 minutes. Some other podcasts saying that they felt at times the show was rushed. I think this was just enough time. I do think some of the other matches were rushed, but I think this one was just laid out perfect because it was fast, it was hard hitting. I mean, I wouldn't expect anybody to survive 25 minutes with Jacob Fatu doing all the crazy, wacky stuff he does. So, yeah, 10, 15 minutes, perfect. And I think that I had predicted it'd be about 15 minutes before the show. So, I think it's right on where it needs to be.
I agree. So after that, we got Ray Phoenix and El Grande Americano. Chad Gable in a luchador mask. Same verse, second as the first, loaded masks. Look, Ray Phoenix did a great job. It was a good enough match. He was put in a bad position. Rey Mysterio getting hurt the night before, right before WrestleMania, right before that match. Ray Phoenix stepping up, good on him. And he acquitted himself well. He sold the story well. He did good work. And I can't fault it. I can't fault the shorter match time. I think that one was probably booked to go longer, but without Ray there, I think that it had to get shortened up some. And now with the AAA acquisition, I guess we just assume at Worlds Collide that's when Chad gets on Matt. Look, I hate the shtick. It was cute for a couple of weeks,
I still think it's fun.
and in my notes, I literally put like, I hope Chad Gable gets his ass beat by every luchador from now until the end of time. Like, if you can do it without the mask or with the mask, you can do it without the mask. And it's like, and I get it. He always gets wrapped up in these like niche, corny, goofy like storylines, and that's
Shorty
just
G.
kind of became his thing. He had Alpha Academy, which was like the land of misfit toys, but
Shorty G. That was,
that was terrible.
yes, it was.
But
Thanks, Vince.
he's such a talented wrestler. On one hand, I'm glad he got a WrestleMania moment. On the flip side, I'm really upset that he got it with a mask on because that guy really he's been a workhorse and he's been on top of his game. So it is what it is. I now anticipate this horse crap riding out until at Worlds Collide, and then something will happen and the mask will get ripped off, and everybody will be happy about it, except for the people in Vegas who all like their heels.
Yep.
So, um, yeah. Anything on this one?
Yeah, how about the dive Phoenix does from the top rope to the outside? I mean, he soared on that dive. That was impressive. I mean, we talk about his rope walking ability, but just he's
It's
unbelievable.
all his ability. Like everything that guy does is just fluid and so good. And blasphemy. I think he's better than Penta. Like, but man, they're both just amazing, and I
Yes.
could watch them all day, every day. So, all right. So after that, we got Stratton and Flair, and I'm a little conflicted on this one. So I think Stratton did good. I think WWE kind of muckety mucked up the camera angles on this one because you caught what far too many times Flair talking through the match,
Yes. Even my
and
wife noticed it.
it got distracting actually.
Yeah.
Like I started looking for it and I'm like, okay, I know she's doing it, but she could have been a little more smooth about it. I know she knows better. Like, there's ways around it, but she's got hair. It's like the
They
easiest
both
cover
do
ever.
crazy amounts of it, you know. Lean in a
Yeah.
little bit like you're driving her into the corner, and then you can give you a spot or, something. But when you're 2 feet away, try to call a spot. It was very obvious. My very casual wrestling fan of a wife picked up on it, and she's like, she's telling her everything to do.
And that's what she's supposed to do
Yep.
is I have this buddy named Matt that tells me all the time the heels call the match, and Flair was definitely the heel in that match. So, I going back to Flair, I know we've touched on this a number of times. She's just off. I know you got some background on it. You know, what did you found what? They had
I read an article, and she was on a podcast, and with her divorce, this is her third. She really had a hard time with that. She was kind of depressed, and then, of course, she found out, and she was trying not to, burden her dad with it. And come to find out, Rick got divorced for the fifth time. So now she's going through that, and I think she was there was some concern about her being body shamed because She likes the plastic surgeon, and now she just went through a pretty significant body transformation. She really is slimmed down. I mean, she's still athletic, but she's probably what 15, 20 pounds lighter, possibly. Uh, I mean, she's what 38, 39. So she's having a midlife crisis right now. Like life isn't easy for Charlotte, but
Oh, oh no, I'm the best women's wrestler in the world. How horrible. I get it.
so I think that's why you see this clunky, whiny Charlotte like just hasn't hit yet. I think it's a confidence issue. I think just life in general. Maybe I think if it wasn't WrestleMania season, I think she would have taken more time off to get her head right. Not that after her body was fixed.
I hope she does, or just slow rolls into something, or just, maybe it's time to build her up. I just want to see her chase, man. She
Yeah,
needs to be chasing.
yeah,
She can destroy people along the way, but I'd like to see Charlotte just kind of grind it out a little bit, and then at the end, when she wins the title again, just throw two birds in the air and be like, haha, you guys thought I couldn't do it. Just go with that for
yeah.
her.
Sure.
So now the fun one. So we get down to the main event, the triple threat. Rollins, Reigns, Punk. First off, called it.
Yeah,
And I called it weeks ago. We didn't start this podcast weeks ago, but I called it. And I called it pretty much how it went. So I'm spiking the football on that one. Now there's a lot of people like, "Oh yeah, who didn't see it coming?" I'm like, "No. No. We all saw it coming cuz and they did it so effing well. Like he nutshotted Punk, and you're like, oh, maybe he is going back to the tribal chief. And Heyman's like, oh look, Seth's right there, and everybody's like, oh, we're gonna get Shield payback, and then he nutshots and rattles freaking
yeah.
Reigns. I was like, good for you.
He was like rooting around up in there, like
He gave the.
like he was looking for loose change.
Oh, he got a credit card swipe on that one. Like that was,
Yeah.
but good on Hammond, man. And man, let's talk about Paul Hammond for a minute, man. Him on McAfee the next night or next day was phenomenal. Now, you and I are both big Paul Heyman guys, right? And we know, like, I just want to sit and listen to Paul Heyman talk wrestling. I don't care what topic, just talk wrestling to me. And he did that on McAfee, but he also did some development work for the storyline on McAfee where the two big takeaways in that was one was he definitely is with Seth Rollins. Like there's no question about it. The second thing is that he made the comment, somebody's like, "Hey, Rollins isn't always going to be around. You might need some beef." And he's like, "I'll go to the grocery store." Well, we found out what the grocery store was.
Oh yeah.
So, my dream
Awesome.
of the truth sayers stable isn't totally dead yet. I think the stable that Heyman is building, and like, I think it's going to get bigger than what it currently is. I think there's going to be a couple more uh, social media and yourself keep on bringing up Deadly Alliance Part 2.
Dangerous alliance.
Dangerous Alliance. Sorry, my
They were pretty deadly, no pun intended, but they were. Yeah, you like that? Pretty deadly. I threw that in there. But no, the Dangerous Alliance. I loved the Dangerous Alliance back in the day. It was just an awesome faction. So some semblance of that. That's what it reminds me of. And we're gonna probably after we talk about night two and Raw, we'll probably get back to Paul and his new faction or group he's gonna create.
So a couple of notes I had on this was more Paul is always good for business. That's one. Um, we talked about this earlier, but Reigns being alone, I don't think he's been humbled yet, but he's been alone. I don't think Paul Heyman, credit card swiping and taking all his lunch money is going to be enough to humble him. I think that he's got to drop a hair lower to really get humbled, and then he can start rebuilding relationships. And then I think I need a promo from Punk fairly quickly.
Yes.
I think Punk needs to, because after this all played out, Punk kind of felt like the 15th wheel. Now, there is a rumor, and it is only a rumor. I don't think anything's confirmed that maybe a tag team match of Braun Breaker and Seth versus Punk and Reigns. I don't know when Reigns is taking his vacation. Maybe he is going to be at Backlash. I don't know, but I think I think that would be a cool thing.
It would be. Would it
You
be
know,
too soon though? Just three. Like
this is
it
this
seems
is
like they're pulling the trigger on a lot because it looks like they realize that they kind of effed up some stuff this past weekend. So like, hey, we got to right the wrong. Like right now, we got to fix it. Like they're almost like I don't want to say panic mode because WWE has no need to panic, but I think they want to try to like kind of bury the bad stuff and like, hey, let's put a quick band-aid on it. So I
So that Raw Monday night effectively did that. We were all kind of made to feel better. It did the job, and then good old Dwayne went on McAfee and screwed it all up. Like, ugh. Again, some people had the Midas touch. He's got the shitty touch, man. Like anything he touches turns to poo right now, and it's ridiculous. At least as it applies to wrestling. And like, dude, like they recovered. Everybody was good. They're like, okay, we're going to turn the page. Raw After Mania is done. Let's move on next season. And he had to go and say stuff. So I'm going to get off of it. I'm not going to lose my crap anymore. But, like, yeah, thank you, Dave LaGreca, again for the tirade because it saved me from having to do it.
yeah,
So,
I did not get a chance to see The Rock on Pat McAfee. So between school and hang
you
out
know,
with the wife at the beach, so I kind of missed all that. But I'll catch up on it.
you
But I
know
covered
the
some
you know
big
the
ones.
documentary from last year where where he's like, so I said to Triple H, why not have like he made up everything,
Yeah,
you know. So I said to Triple H, why not turn John Cena heel? No, it, from what I saw, I didn't see it straight, but from the clips, it had that vibe again. And like I said, every time that dude does damage control, I think he makes things worse. So I just stay away unless there's something fully fleshed out. Look, a lot Triple H has taken a lot of heat, and probably rightfully so, because this build for WrestleMania was kind of anticlimactic. I'm gonna give Triple H the benefit of the doubt though, because I think Triple H is in an impossible situation in certain aspects, and that is last year he was in a bad situation because you had a part-time Roman Reigns, and you had the hottest storyline that was going. And like we talked about in the other episode, like Paul Heyman, the Usos, everybody was carrying the water for that storyline. And then it was like every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then Roman Reigns would grace us with his presence. Well, that's not how you do a good build, right? Like he picked it up going towards Mania, but again, it was kind of like, okay, I'm not feeling the tit for tat. And then fast forward to this year, from a creative standpoint, I think he's also in a kind of semi rough spot. Not impossible, but rough in the sense that Cena's situation makes it rather unique, right? And then him going over at the chamber and everything else, it's just like, mm, I think it just kind of you have to book it, but the problem is good old uh good old John is not what he used to was.
no,
And like you really had to do some smart booking, but I think you were also limited. Like you could put Mike in John's hand and just go all day, but at some point he has to wrestle.
he
We'll
does.
get to it with that final match, but like I just want to stick up a little bit for Triple H. I'm not saying he didn't flub because he's got other like meh stuff that he did for this build-up that definitely deserves criticism, but I think he's also put in a rough spot, especially with the cinema title.
Yeah, the
So
cinema title, and then you got all these other writers that are writing for matches too. That whoever wrote some of these stinkos of a match. God, I hope Michael P.S. Hayes wasn't the writer for the main event, but something tells me that Michael Hayes might have been the writer for the triple threat on night one. I just have a gut feeling because that was old school. But Sure.
All right, let's move on. All right, so we got the women's triple threat on night two. So Io, Ripley, and Belair. And let me tell you, this was my match of the
No.
weekend.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what. So there's three candidates. We've already talked about one. So that triple threat on night one was definitely a candidate for the match of the whole weekend. But those ladies said, "Hold my beer," and they threw down, and it was perfection. And
Yes.
I don't usually say that a lot. That was perfection. The ending sequence only rivaled by the ending sequence in the Fatal Four Way that followed it was pure timing perfection in the way that it was executed. And a credit to all of them. I was never bored in the match. It was nonstop, just brilliant. And all three of those, give them their flowers because wow. And then, from a storyline perspective, it's looking like Rhea Io at Backlash, probably based off of Monday night. And then, well, Belair, it's the love triangle thing. Like she's gonna have to get tied into that.
Yeah. That'll
So,
happen.
what were your thoughts on that match?
That by far, like so. As far as like night one WrestleMania main event with Punk and Seth and Roman, between like the whole storyline stuff that went on, that was like the best. We could just say it matched in segment, the whole package put together. But as far as like just the match and the wrestling ability and the wrestling that we saw, the women's triple threat by far was the best because there was there was nothing like even slightly sloppy. Like I don't think I remember seeing any like they were working snug too, as was Charlotte and Tiff. But I didn't see anything like you didn't see a lot of air between moves, like where someone threw a boot, it landed. There was contact made. So the match looked legitimate. It featured all the best of all three ladies, and what I really liked is you could tell that they were all in together on making the match. It wasn't about making like let me get my stuff in. Everybody got their stuff in, and everybody was selling for everybody's stuff. I think it was perfectly done. I mean, I think that was an A plus 5-star match.
I concur.
Absolutely. That's
I
gonna go when they start doing countdowns in 20 years, or when we do WrestleMania 50 and they come out with like the best matches ever. That is a match that will definitely be in the top 10. I think. I think it will hold the test of time.
I agree, and it's you got to give it credit for what it is, right? Like the multi-person matches are not always easy to
No.
pull off at that level. Like, you know, and it's even worse for tag teams. So, credit to the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. Like they did it with tag teams,
Yeah.
which also was
Real
even
hard.
more impressive. So I think that what they did was just freaking
It
amazing.
was.
And unfortunately for the next match, it left a vacuum, and that was the Sin City street fight with Drew and Priest. And it was well executed. I appreciated that they kept most of that stuff like in the ring or near the ring. Like far too often, like as soon as you hear a street fight, you're just like, "Oh, they're going to be in the back. They're going to be all over."
In the
No,
concourse, who knows? Yeah.
they kept it really up front in front of everybody. I appreciated that so much. So it was well done, but they got caught in that vacuum, man. I can't explain it anything else. It was good, but they got caught in the vacuum because that first match they stole the show,
They
and
did.
credit to them.
I, Looking back now, like because now we're Monday morning or Wednesday night quarterbacking, I probably would have put the women's. Well, no, because you can't follow women with the women. I would have put something else there besides those three. You knew those were going to be good matches. I think they should have put something. Yeah, you could have put. But yet, you can't put. I don't know. It was tough because on paper that card was so solid. So I don't. It befuddles me why night two was not a great night. It should have been because the first three matches should have been. So I thought the match was very good. I gave it like an A minus. And again, like you said, they kept it in or near the ring, a little bit outside stuff, but it was mostly to get weapons and little mini brawls, nothing ridiculous. And then what was the WWE was doing for the longest time with like street fights and last man standing matches, they would go on forever and ever and ever. And I was trying to keep time of the matches, and this one comes in just around 14 minutes. So they got a lot in 14 minutes. The pacing was pretty good. The pacing on night two, I think, on a lot of things was better than night one. But
Till the end. But
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Well, no, the pacing at the end was actually good until the last 4 minutes, up until the lights went out and this terrible song came on. I mean, first 20 was, well, we'll get to that.
So after that, we got the four-way for the Intercontinental title between Braun Breaker, Penta, Dominic Mysterio, and Finn Balor. So you and I have talked about a lot for this, and we chose the wrong side of the 50-50 coin flip because we both kind of, I talked you into Finn Balor, and we were kind of like, okay, Finn, but no, Dominic Mysterio goes over, and at least we had the right faction. We knew that, and obviously we know now why Braun Breaker the or didn't retain. I don't think right now Penta's so hot. Like insert the Will Ferrell meme from like uh, Zoolander. He's so hot right now. Like, yeah, that's Penta, and it's Ray Phoenix too. But like Penta is really really hot right now, so he doesn't need a title. He'll get there.
I think you do put a title on Penta at some point. I think with the draft, you bring Ray Phoenix over to Raw, or you put them together on the same program, and eventually you make them a tag team.
I wouldn't rush. Like they're spreading the wealth right now, and they're doing a
They are.
great
They
job.
are. They are. But I think at some point you got to bring them together, because fans have seen them. Ah. So yeah, next time, Sean, I'm sticking by my guns. I'm not letting you talk me into any silly ideas. Going
It's all
against
about the
Chris.
story.
Yeah, the story.
It's all about the story,
It
but
is.
like, you
What?
know, after we got past Monday night, it all kind of came together, right? Because like we haven't gotten there yet, but I'll touch on it now. So like, Liv and Raquel losing
Oh yeah.
made me go, okay, so Dom, like, if you were really going for the implosion of the Judgment Day, then you don't give them any titles, right? So like coming out of night two, I was like, I don't know what they're doing, but they remedied it on night one. So, and honestly, this four-way match is probably the second best match
Yes.
of the entire weekend. And had it not been for the ladies stealing the show, it would have been the top because they all got their stuff in and they all did
Yeah.
amazing.
It was amazing. That one I gave a solid A to. I think it was too short though for a four-way. It was 10.5 minutes.
I,
That one that one
I
could have went a little bit further.
I liked it though. I think
Yeah.
that everybody got their stuff in. You got all the story, and then on top of that, just like we said with the ladies, the ending was
Oh,
timing perfection.
yes.
It was timing perfection. The way, and credit to Dominic Mysterio, man. That was not easy timing to frog splash, land on Finn, and pull Finn up, and it wasn't clunky at all. It was smooth. And the last couple of times I've seen Dom wrestle, he's been really good. And I think he's only going to get better. It's probably the one thing that, The Rock or was it The Rock? Who gave him kudos? Was it? Oh,
Oh, I forget who it was that gave Dom
somebody.
kudos.
Oh, Cena did.
Yeah, yeah, it was Cena did when I guess
Cena did.
I'm
Oh, well,
actually
I agree with John Cena then. Good. I don't agree with The Rock.
yeah.
Let's go
But,
on.
but you can sleep well tonight. Real quick about this. First of all, if there was a breakout star on WrestleMania weekend, it was Dominic Mysterio. And I mean, you and I have been talking even before we started this podcast, and Sean and I have described our hatred for Dominic Mysterio for a long time. But then all of a sudden, like, man, he's playing a good heel. Hey, his ring skills have improved. Tom can sell a beating like nobody else. I mean, which will be really good for when he does become a face, because if he can sell a beating that bad as a heel, he will sell a beating magnificent as a face. So that's something to look down the line. A couple of notes I had about this match because I didn't want to forget Braun across with that incredible leap on the outside, the spear from Carlito. Carlito is going to be in a body brace probably within the next couple of weeks.
I so would have done that on Raw. Just have him come in with the like back stabilizer.
Yeah.
just just have him be there like, coming out like he can't bend over. He's just all braced. That would have been great.
Oh, that would be really good. You know, and then yeah, it wasn't from like I'm trying to think of the movie it's something's from, but that made me laugh. But it's been a long day for me. Another thing, I think Braun he did that run and leap where he just took the guys outside the ring from inside was incredible. His double German that was impressive. And then one thing I really enjoyed in that match, there were a lot of dude wipe and poop jokes going on during that match that I found quite entertaining.
Commentators are feeling themselves.
But they did it without taking away from the match. Because sometimes, you know, when they get bantery and stuff, sometimes it takes your attention away from the match. You know, they would wait sometimes. They would get a couple lines in, something would happen, they acknowledge it, then they throw like another, like, hey, another dude white poop joke. It was just funny. And maybe I needed that after X amount of hours of watching wrestling this weekend. So thank God
Uh,
it wasn't a NASCAR race yesterday. It would
yeah, it would have been conflicting.
yeah.
So after that, obviously, like I said, we know what happens with Breaker. I think that for the Judgment Day, Finn Balor will eventually be out. Probably, I don't know though. They played it off, but I think he's still going to end up on the
Well,
outs.
there is something that happened Monday night that's now added another element to the Judgment Day.
Yep. And then after that match, Randy Orton's mystery opponent came out, and it was Joe Hendry.
Good choice.
It was an excellent choice. Was not on my bingo card,
No, not at all.
which, and in fairness, it's simply because I don't know enough about who's wrestling in TNA right now. So I will definitely own my ignorance on that one. But there was a huge debate. You talk to one faction. Again, this is social media, so take it with a grain of salt, right? There was one faction saying he got buried and it's a bad look. There's another faction, which I am in, that said it got TNA great exposure and he got a little bit of his stuff in. You're not going to beat Randy Orton at WrestleMania as the TNA champion. You're just not. Like that's just reality. But the good news is, so I was following along with TNA or not TNA, excuse me, NXT last night, and he made an appearance on NXT and started talking crap to like Trick Williams and whatnot. So I like that they followed it up with more Joe Hendry. I think that kind of puts the exclamation point on giving some love to TNA, getting TNA some exposure. Um, Obviously, when his contract's up with TNA, he's probably coming over to WWE, which is fine, kind of taking the Jordan Grace uh, route. But I'm happy for Randy. Probably the funniest moment of the entire WrestleMania was him doing Hendry's, move where he does the spin around and then he ends up in the Randy Orton pose. And I was like, so well done. It had me rolling and it was so good. And like I said, I didn't need it to be much. I don't think we thought it was going to be much. And it was a great time to get Randy his 20th, but also like, you give another promotion some props. Foster that relationship. That was actually a net positive. I think where night 2 really suffered in terms of, not epic the entire night was injuries. Injuries kind of screwed up night 2. So KO getting hurt screwed up the Randy match. Mysterio getting hurt screwed up that match. So people filled in. They made lemonade out of it the best they could. They might not have had enough sugar to make really good lemonade, but they did a good job for what they had. So I'm not gonna. Again, they were just put in a bad spot. And it's nobody's fault. It's just injuries happen. Well, debatable on Mysterio, but we talked about that in the other podcast where, start using SmackDown as your overflow. If you're not defending all your championships, put your championships on that. and then protect all your all the people that are in Mania. You have enough talent. You're rolling deep. And we saw that even last night with Raw. You could have put those two female. Well, they had a pay-per-view on Saturday, so I guess that doesn't work. But you get my point.
Right.
Like, there's enough talent floating around that you could have put on some really good stuff. So, okay, so we'll move on from that since it was only like a couple of minutes and it really was a photo op. But, him dropping the line on NXT, they're like, "You lost." He's like, "Yeah, but I lost in front of 60,000 people." I was like,
Right.
"Good for you, buddy."
Yeah.
Like,
And
that's
actually,
the way to sell it.
after we saw what we saw Monday night, now it kind of makes sense why Randy beat him in 3.5 minutes or whatever it was. I mean, it was an emphatic victory to launch Orton, but it like you said, it didn't kill Henry, and I think
Nah, they got their stuff in. He got an intro. He got to rock out in front of like a WrestleMania crowd. He was in WrestleMania. He wasn't in like Royal Rumble, which I think is the last time we saw him. Like he was out there. He was at WrestleMania. So like no matter what, you can't take that away from him. And you know what else? For TNA, TNA had their championship with that guy and on TV on a PLE,
in front of a
the
billion
biggest
people.
PLE
Yeah.
for WWE. So you got great exposure for TNA as well. So it was a win-win for everybody. Nothing epic to write home about, but it was good on everybody involved, and I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, I am too.
So the next match we had was Logan Paul and AJ Styles. Okay, so I think you and I talked about this like outside the podcast, and I think part of our problem with this one was we went in expecting like a 5-star banger fly fest, and we got some cool moments,
Yes.
but it just wasn't next level. It was great, but it wasn't next level. And I think that what we expected kind of dampered what we got. And if we went in there with no expectations, we would have thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I appreciate it for what it is now.
Yeah, and it was a solid B plus match. You got AJ's not in his 30s anymore. He's an older guy, still in great shape. But I think they did some stuff. I think people were looking for Logan to do something really crazy, myself included. And we got,
He did, though.
yeah, he
I'll
did.
touch on it.
Yeah, but like a lot of his crazy stuff, like the stuff he did with Ricochet, where they both, did the flying cross bodies, like the impact. We didn't get quite as much as that, but man, I love Logan Paul's finisher. That thing looks devastating. I mean, it looks like you hit it, it's lights out. So like let's look at the DDT. Everybody kicks out of DDTs for the most part. It's not a finisher anymore. It's a setup move. But when Jake Roberts used to do it, he said, someone would ask Jake, Gene Oakland would ask Jake Roberts, like, hey, what does DDT stand for? And Jake would say, the end. Like when Logan Paul hits that finisher, what is it? The Paul drive? Pulverizer.
Pulverizer.
Pulverizer. That's like the end because it just looks so good. And he does a great job of just executing that move. But it was a fun match. I thought it was kind of cool when AJ no sold his own finisher being used on him when he no sold the Styles Clash, which goes to show that Styles knows the counter for the Styles Clash. So something that I wish the announcers would have picked that on, like and talked about. But
So the one thing that Paul did that was kind of cool, and I don't know if this was the intent, but I was thinking about it today as I was writing up my notes for that match. And when he caught the drone, right?
that was good. That was
There is and I don't want to say he caught it. He caught it, but he didn't like grab it and snatch it. It was something gentle, and there's something very samurai about that in the sense that in the midst of all this violence, all this chaos, everything that you're doing, he does this one gentle act
like it's
in
a
front
baby
of
bird.
everybody.
Like he's got a
Yes.
little baby bird in his hand.
Yeah, it's like when your kids would get the stupid egg that they had to tote around everywhere. But he did. He did it so gently and so slowly. And like I said, there's something very zen about that, and I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that's kind of how I like reflecting back on it. I was like, you got two high flyers, two guys that can beat the snot out of each other, and you got all this stuff going on. And just in the middle of it all, he does this one overtly like gentle thing with this. And obviously it's to get clicks and get something cool, but it was really cool.
I thought that was a cool moment. It did distract it all from the match. Usually stuff like that I don't like when the wrestlers, back in the Attitude Era, Rock put a headset on his head and start providing commentary in his own match. It was funny like the first time or the second time, but when it became a repeat thing, it lost its funniness. So I think what Logan did, that was a cool spot. It's a memorable one. Like I don't think you're gonna. I just hope to God that people don't start wrestlers don't start grabbing drones as they fly by. Like
I think he's the only one that could do it and
I
pull
think,
it off,
yeah,
though. And it's just by the basis of his character and
yeah,
his
he's a social
background.
media star. That's just a cocky. And Logan plays such a good dick. Like he's a dick. Like he's an arrogant, like I'm better than you, dick, and he does that so well.
He he has his ebbs and flows. Like so he's kind of I don't want to say he's hit or miss because like anytime you put him in a ring, he's amazing. When his promos come in, like I like some and not all. He really at times like, and I can appreciate it. Like it's all he knows. Like he kind of goes back to the tropes and just oh, I'm in a city of losers kind of thing, and it's just like, okay, yeah, that's been done like 1,000 times, bro. That's like promo 101.
Yeah,
Like
he could be a little
we
more.
get it.
He could be a little more creative on that, but just
You're the
in
you're the
general, like while his mannerisms, while he's in the ring, just like looks he gives people, like his facials are really good.
they
Like
are.
he does good. He has really good like facial expressions in his match. So I saw a lot of good psychology last weekend too. I mean, the psychology in the main event, and I forgot to mention talking about main event night one. The psychology was impeccable in that match. That was another thing that just made it so good.
We started off the whole weekend talking about that because like when you and I were going back and forth on the Gunther J thing, we're like the psychology's so good right now. It really was like Jay like in order to get over had to start stealing all of Gunther's moves. It was
Yeah,
just like, oh, brilliant. Brilliant. And there was like War Raiders match, there was a lot of good sort of psychology too. Like
yes,
if you look at it from the storytelling perspective, for a lot of these matches, even the ones that everybody is just kind of like, it wasn't cool enough. Like, well, we can't all be luchadors, right? Like, there was a lot of good storytelling or a lot of good ring psychology that made a lot of sense. And even in the matches that we think are kind of meh, like the War Raiders one, there was still a lot of good ring
yes.
psychology. Like one of the best things that happened in that one, New Day goes over, and what do? They book it up the ramp like quickly as heck with the titles. Smart, you know. They got their time, they got their moment. It just there was a lot of stuff like
And they're
that.
not going to share it with the fans. They're just going to run the back and
Correct.
yep.
All right. So Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria, Liv, and Raquel. So this one, while it didn't make sense at the night, in my notes, it was pretty much like, okay, this match exists so Becky can come out and get reintroduced. Like, let Becky be Becky. And it was like, okay, cool. But we found out on Raw, the titles flip. Becky does a heel flip, which I'm hoping beyond hope that that heel flip is going to tie her into Paul Heyman's faction, like we talked about earlier. And I'm hoping that, you know, she plays a female role in that faction. And I think it would also be kind of cool for her and Seth to have that, like, husband wife, like, we're doing a storyline together, not one of these screwed up storylines where somebody's involved with somebody else, blah blah. No, like a
Oh,
legit like
I think it'd be
you're a
cool.
heel, I'm a heel, we're in this faction, we're just beating everybody up, and I think it could be awesome.
Yeah, we haven't seen that really since on a big level since Triple H's staff. I mean, you got Karrion Cross with Scarlett, which I believe is his real wife, right? Him and Scarlett are married, I think.
I gotta look that up. I don't know if they are or not. Again, that's what I keep my daughter around for, so I don't know if
Yeah.
I would have to confirm with her on whether or not they're married. So I just not a lot came out of this match. It was a good match, and
Standard tag team match. It was good for what
uh,
it was.
and again, so there's another factor in this too. So the whole Bailey aspect of this match. So as soon as Becky came out, I was like, "There's a story here. There's a story with her and Bailey." Obviously, they're two of the best female wrestlers. Bailey has been going around, no offense to her, but kind of moping on interviews. And I don't know if it's kayfabe or if it's she's legitimately feeling that way. I think that Bailey spent this past year putting over other talent, like elevating other talent. You know, she was with Lyra to kind of make Lyra a thing. And I think that what'll happen in the longer run, I think we are going to get that payoff. Now Bailey can stay a face now that Becky is a heel.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
we
she
we
was
had her after Sunday night, like, oh, well, I guess Becky, we're gonna get the Becky heel turn again, which that would, she just turned face not long ago, and keep having to flip back and
or
forth.
Bailey heel turn.
Yeah, Bailey heel turn. I'm sorry, but yeah, we thought Bailey was going to turn heel, so I'm glad that they surprised us with the Becky heel turn to keep Bailey a face. It's just too many B's, and I think Bailey needs that long face run, and we haven't seen a Becky heel run in what, a little while, about 5 years or so.
Was what? Big Time Bex was the last one, wasn't it?
Was that pre-COVID?
I don't remember anymore.
Yeah,
It all blurs together.
it
But
does.
I mean,
Yeah,
look, I'd rather her be a heel right now. She's just coming back. This lets Bailey be a legitimate face. She needs to get out from all the crappy storylines. I think having a program with her and Becky is a plus. I have a feeling that this is going to spin off into something where she's helping Lyra out. I think Becky's going to try to take the title off of Lyra, which actually makes me happy because I want to keep the world titles where they're at right now.
and it elevates that
So,
IC title a little bit more if you have a Becky Lynch
yes,
fighting for it, as
she'll
it
do.
did with Bailey. I mean, Bailey helped elevate it too. So with Becky, that's just another. So I think that women's U.S. title on SmackDown could use a little love rather than.
So one underrated thing that I didn't touch on, at least for night two, Lyra Valkyria was on
Yes,
point that night. Her timing and everything that she did that night was phenomenal.
yes,
And I really enjoyed watching her wrestle that night. Like, I think it wasn't as fluid in night two, or not, sorry, during Raw, because obviously they had a rematch, but oh, so good in that match, and I got to give her flowers too. She had a really good WrestleMania match.
yeah. And I've been a little hard on Lyra with you with some matches I've seen her where she should have sold bigger or sold longer, or even once she recovered, still selling, like, limping on a knee or something. She was kind of forgetting, like, oh, I got a boo boo. I'm supposed to sell it. She's really improved on that, and she sold everything good on Sunday night. She did carry a lot of the workload. You knew that Becky really wasn't going to be, you know, for that match. Lyra was going to play Ricky Morton. She was going to be the face in peril, and get the tar smacked out of her, and then make the hot tag to Becky, and that's kind of how it went. Again, it was a standard old school tag team match. I didn't think there was anything bad. I didn't see a lot of, though, in that match. I didn't see a lot of the personalities of Becky and Raquel. They weren't as obnoxious as they normally are. I felt that was kind of left out of it. Like, we didn't see a lot of their personality. And maybe that was intentional, maybe to try to get the return of Becky Lynch over, but I think it wouldn't have taken anything away if Liv just kept acting as incorrigible as she always is, and Raquel as well.
Well, Liv was scared of Becky, so that was part of the story there.
Yeah.
And then um, I don't think you necessarily needed it. Becky's back. Obviously, she does the heel flip on the next night, so it's like, eh,
That
you
was
know, we
savage
got what we
attack
needed.
too. When she attacked Lyra, man, she went off. It wasn't like a one move and like walk out of the ring to the booze. It was repetitive. And that's a make a statement, and I like that. Like, just doing like one move and walking out, yeah, okay, you turned on them. But when you like turn on somebody and you just beat the snot out of them, you're making a statement, and I think that again will help elevate that whole scenario with the women's IC title.
I think they did one thing WWE has done really good this year is like excess is not enough. Like they done it, they did it with Bronson Reed, him giving like 5,000 moves. They've done it with Jacob Fatu. Now they did it with Becky. Like Overkill is underrated, man. Like they have done a great job with it. And it's just like when you're like, okay, this is getting tired. They have taken it from where it goes, oh, this is getting tiresome. Wait, this is good again. Like they take you all the way through the whole cycle, and like they've done a really good job of that this year with a lot of their writing and stuff where it's like, oh, he did 3. Oh crap, he's going for 7 now. Like and it was like, all right, one more time, let's do it. So that turned out really good. You know what didn't turn out really good? John Cena and Cody Rhodes,
No
which is
kidding.
our next match.
No kidding.
Yeah, take that segue. Look, I I have my theories on a couple of things. Cena's whole angle of I'm going to ruin wrestling, right? I like it, and I think it fed that match. What did everybody want? They wanted uppity Cena. They wanted him, and he just drug the pace all the way down. Like he never got out of first gear for most of that match. And I was like, at first I was like, ugh, is he this shot? And then after a while, I was like, no, this is a work. He's doing it on purpose right now. He is
It's
intentionally taking his time. He is intentionally dragging this out. Which is brilliant writing. Like take the ending out of it. Like that match up until Travis Scott's music hits was
it
brilliant.
was solid, really solid. And I tell you when it even started with John going slow, his entrance. Black and white bear. He walked slow to the ring. He had his towel just like over the back of his head. He walked slower to the ring than normal. Normally he works especially when it's a face he walked faster. But so that whole pacing started with his entrance.
Yeah,
It,
it
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 was
was
really cool how they did that.
the black and white, the simplified crap, like everything they did with him was
No
brilliant.
pretty
Which
colors for you.
I was so torn though, man, because I'm like, oh,
Last
God,
time.
it's your last WrestleMania, and you're coming out here with like the most blah crap. But you know what? He's gonna get his pomp and circumstance at the end. Like when his last match happens, he is gonna get it all. So I give it to him. It did leave a little bit of a vacuum in the building. All right, so let's get to it. Let's just rip the band-aid off. All right. The song that I am so sick of hits, and Travis Scott like ordered a Subway sandwich, picked it up, went to the bathroom,
Smoked a J.
smoked a blunt, and he's still only halfway down the ramp at this point. And like it was so slow. Now,
It made
let
Undertaker look like a sprint. Well, not quite.
Undertaker and Roman Reigns were sitting there like, "Hey man, can you pick up the pace a minute, bro?" And we've timed some incredibly slow Roman Reigns entrances, like 8-minute type entrances. Undertaker usually has a lot of pomp and circumstance, so I kind of let that go. But a lot of the times Reigns was just like, "Meh, I'm gonna mosey. I'm
I
the
mean,
champ. I can do that."
Travis's entrance was probably 3 minutes, but it just felt like 30.
So here's the problem, right? And like this goes back to the work, and this is why I hate The Rock. But I also got to give a little bit of credit here. All right, during that slow roll, never ending walk to the ring, you know it, I know it. We all had it in the back of our heads like he's going to get halfway down the ramp and The Rock's music's going to hit. Okay, he's 3/4 down the ramp and 2 minutes in the Rock's coming, right? Because like he's coming so slow. He's just slow rolling this. He's just acting as a distraction until the Rock comes, right? And you don't get the Rock. Th- this is the problem, right?
They made
Like
merch saying that The Rock was in Vegas.
I don't I'm being cautious on that because I don't know if that was WWE merch or somebody selling it off to the side. Like, just some dude that printed
Yeah,
up some
yeah, just
t-shirts.
sure.
So I've intentionally not talked about that because I don't know where that photo I saw the same photo. I don't know where that photo was taken. But the bottom line is he injected his ass into this damn story. I am not going to get worked up. 3, 2. Okay, cool. I'm back to center. No, so he injected himself into this crap, right? How in the F did he not think that was the expectation? And like this whole like, oh, I'm just not going to give him what I want. You don't do that at Mania, right? If you weren't going to be at Mania, and let's go back to Travis Scott, right? So fine, you're not coming, but you gave us Crony. Okay, cool. The Crony's there. Here's the problem. The Crony hasn't done crap since the Elimination Chamber. If you had Travis Scott showing up at random WWE shows and screwing with Cody, or just distracting Cody, or just causing a problem with Cody, or anything to make him seem like he was a credible threat, then you would have been okay. But you did nothing. The only thing that happened was him screwing up at Elimination Chamber, giving Cody a black eye and rupturing his eardrum, which really happened.
Yes.
And
Legit.
again, I blame The Rock for that too, because The Rock was like, well, if you're going to hit him, make it count. Well, you didn't teach him shit. And you injured the top star. Good job, big guy.
Yeah, you can hit somebody really hard, but know how to hit them where it doesn't hurt. But
So the my beef, the two beefs I have with the three beefs, I'm going to say it's three. I have three beefs with Travis Scott. One is you took effing way too long to get to the ring. You could have cut that in half and still had that anticipation where everybody's like, The Rock's coming, right? Like, The Rock's right after you. You could have accomplished the same thing. That's one. Two is I'm so sick of that effing song and I never want to hear it again. Like, I hate that song now. It has been played so much. You know what it is? It's the equivalent of the Smash Mouth song from Shrek, right? Radio's played it like once every hour, it seemed like, and it just got played so much you just got sick of it. This is the equivalent of that now. I never want to hear that song ever again. So there's that. And then the lack of a build or lack of character establishment for him. Like, all you had was a rapper that came down. The only good thing that came out of his interaction with the referee was the referee getting knocked out.
Yeah,
because otherwise it's a DQ.
Yeah, what's that ref bump? That was a pretty weak ass ref bump because he barely got touched and he sold it like he got shot. Like, get clobbered, make it look good. But yeah, and then I mean, are we really supposed to expect to believe that this 130-pound shit stain has any chance? It's just.
Well, he didn't interact with Cody other than getting
yeah. It just
crossroaded. Bully Ray was pissed. He said, Bully Ray is like, Cody should go outside of his concert and just slap the taste out of his mouth and call it a day. I was like, that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Send the cameras with that. Like,
I say the Crossroads is cool, but like, really, I don't want to see a Crossroads. I want to see Cody just like paintbrush and punch and like just deck him. Like the Crossroads.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. You didn't reseat him with that, so it's like, it was what it was. But so
it just put the end of the whole show on a downer note.
And
each day after it gets worse. So like
it got better and then it got worse because The Rock opened his mouth.
Yeah.
So look, they suck the atmosphere out, and it's Vegas being a heel town, cheering for Cena. But here's the problem, man. It's Cena.
17. Yeah, I know. We heard that all night after the show.
But it's Cena.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna get over like that's like, yes, he is a heel right now. And I get it. He is a heel. But you're not going to get away from all that because everybody appreciates him. And like, again, credit to Busted Open. I got to make sure so we don't get in trouble, right? But they were talking about this, and one of the things that they mentioned, because they were there, we were not, because I'm not rich.
Yep.
One of the things they talked about was a lot of the people that they talked to about Cena was basically like, I got to pull for him. I grew up watching him. Like, the people that are in the age range that is buying these tickets right now are the people that grew up in the John Cena era. So I can't fault the crowds, but it just makes his heel turn. But again, he plays it perfectly. He does it. He's just like, I can make you guys do whatever I want you to do. Like
Oh, his promo
so.
Monday. You never said you were sorry.
Yeah,
He,
I
he's,
I I
he's
on it.
playing the
I got a
victim.
question on. I got a question on that, and this is a legit question for you. Were they saying we are sorry or we aren't sorry? Because I was hearing we are sorry.
That's what I heard.
Like
I heard like we are sorry.
he spun it. He spun it to we aren't sorry, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's wrap up WrestleMania here first. So all the crap goes down. Cena gets the belt. He wears the belt backwards going up the ramp. He actually took his photo with Triple H with the belt on his back. Cool. I didn't know if he was indicating that he was putting it over his ass or if it was just I carry this crap on my back. I don't know. I don't care. Let's move on. But yeah, way super duper downer, you know,
Definitely
and
sounded like clickbait to me.
the post interview was brilliant. It's the Allen
You were
Iverson of
real
I'm
good.
here so I don't get fined.
Yeah.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. Oh, that question sounds like clickbait. And what was funny, he was out doing media the next day, and he was on and he, man, he was teetering the line real hard between kayfabe and reality. And I don't envy his position, right? Like, there's video around where, he's doing the meet and greets, shaking hands and taking photos with fans. And it's like, I get it. You're John Cena. Like, at the end of the day, no matter what you do, you're John Cena. So, he was walking the really fine line of in the ring, I'm this guy. When I'm out of the ring, I'm that guy. And,
Kind of like
I appreciate
Pat
that.
McAfee. He was going back and forth pretty blatantly, but like another real quick because we love Paul so much. Paul's gonna have to owe his dinner if we keep giving him love. He like went to the character, the Paul Heyman character, and goes 100%, and then he just like boom, he pulls himself out of it, and we'll just talk about how he works with Cole and this and that. He does it seamlessly. Like he's just so brilliant how he can go in and out of character. So just one thing I know,
There's just so much good.
yeah.
I
We
told you, man.
maybe
I could
someday
listen to
we'll
that
do an
dude talk.
episode just about Paul. Maybe someday we'll just down the line we'll do an episode just about our love for Paul Heyman.
Can't do it. Yeah, you can't rush this stuff because he's
Oh,
still out doing
I know.
amazing work.
Well, he's got
Like,
40 years of stuff behind him already, so I'm just saying Paul's great.
don't be like your daughter and shut your mouth off. Like some of those lines that he dropped on McAfee were
Oh,
just like, I think he was still in roast mode.
when
Like
he
he
when
had
he
to have
said
been.
that to the father, like about his, like you said, his daughter, you shouldn't be like your daughter, keep your mouth shut or whatever. Christy's just like, oh my god, like that. She's like, he actually said that. I'm like, that's brilliant. That's
He was bringing up all sorts of taboo crap. ESPN's like, we can't dump him, but what do we do? Like, it was great.
oh,
He played it. I give it to him, but man, he was dropping nuggets of wisdom on the way. I like that he gave the why of Seth Rollins. I like that one thing that's underappreciated for how that all played out with Heyman on Monday was he did not. So he dropped all this info during the McAfee interview, right? He did great. By the way, we're done with WrestleMania because just as boring as our transition was, that's how boring the end of the show was, thanks to that ending. So,
so
hit,
we acknowledge we had a boring segue. I thought it was
yes,
right. I thought it was not.
but his work during the day on Media Row or whatever WrestleMania calls it, it's pretty much just everybody cycling through McAfee. But his work on that, I think it was about 40 minutes, to be honest with you, was brilliant
Yeah, yeah.
because what he did he did storyline stuff in that. But what I truly appreciate is when he got on Raw at the end of Raw, he didn't rehash a damn thing
No,
about it. He left it there on McAfee's show. He's smart enough to know that social media exists. He's smart enough to know that all of us people are going to run out and watch this stuff because we're like, oh, what's Paul going to say? And he did a great job because he gave us Paul Heyman the promoter. He gave us Paul Heyman, the manager. He gave us Paul Heyman as Paul Heyman. He gave us all of that. And he showed us why he is one of the best dudes on the microphone ever. He is deservedly in the Hall of Fame. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. And wrestling is forever better with that dude. And not
Absolutely.
just because of his in-ring work, it's the stuff behind the curtain too, which makes me really, really, really want to see the what's their new show that they're promoting? Um,
Unreal.
uh, Unreal.
Yeah, where they go
Yeah.
backstage and they talk about how the stories are written. Hey, speaking of microphones, Sean, we got to talk about Michael Cole. We would be awful people if we did not talk about Michael Cole.
Well, he calls a great one. I thought so. Something weird happened in the Cena Cody match, and it was really weird. And I picked up on it. I kept on bringing it up to you during the match, which is Wade Barrett ended up flipping to the. He had been a heel the whole weekend. He was like a heel commentator the whole weekend. Then for that match, Cole tried to sort of call it down the middle, and then like McAfee's McAfee. He's just he's the overcaffeinated kid with the crayons, man.
Yeah.
Like he's just coloring all over the place.
Sit down, take
But
the
like,
Ritalin. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, really. Go have a juice box. But like the dynamic in that match was really weird. Wade Barrett taking over as pulling for Cody, and like Cole trying to call it down the middle, but kind of cheering. You know, he was laying out some good stuff. He's like, hey, Cena isn't who he used to be. He's got to like, he has to do this.
Yeah.
He has to do all this. He was almost justifying all the crap that Cena was doing, and it was like a really weird dynamic. Now he got back to right the next night, but props to him. Um, I don't know what the F that was at the end of Raw when Gunther was going after Cole. McAfee stepped up. By the way, McAfee threw a great elbow, by the
Oh
way,
yeah.
flying elbow. Like, props to McAfee, man. Like, usually you get the half ass, like, meh, shove, from like somebody like a McAfee or something. But no, hell no. McAfee like launched and freaking threw a pretty damn good elbow. Got choked out for his troubles, but like I kind of get it. I mean, are we going to an angle where the wrestlers are just going to start abusing the crap out of the announce desk for like the next month?
So I really loved that segment. And what I liked about it was we come back from commercial. There's no lead in. It goes right to the desk.
No.
And Gunther's so like
Nobody to lead in.
we don't know.
Nobody to lead
No,
in.
but we don't know what brought Gunther out there in the first place because like the Mike and Cole and Pat really weren't like talking like or bragging about how he got tapped out. It really wasn't brought up that much. So I think we're supposed to believe that Gunther just snapped, like possibly, because I mean he grabbed Cole like. And I would have thought, okay, Pat's going to stop this. He won't grab Cole. Then he snatched Cole and grabbed, and I was like, oh man, like, and it looked good. I mean, he made it look good. And then, like you said, Pat throws the elbow. He's defending his friend, and then takes a wicked
Man,
choke.
that
But the whole segment, all the way to the trainer's room, that was awesome. And even like I love little details. Like they had to bring Joe Tessitore out. What does he come out in? A pair of blue jeans and like a button-down shirt, and like down the line they give him a sports jacket.
well, he
But
came out with a sports jacket, but like he wasn't in it. He just like carried it down like I don't have time. Let me get the headset on and move this up part. He said it on the announce desk. So that part, look,
it just
Gunther had that.
all look legitimate is what it did. It didn't look like it
Yes.
didn't look wonky or cheesy.
Look,
Like it looked
nothing made
it kind of blurred the lines a little bit. It made you like, man, like, if we didn't really know what went on, it was just done in a very believable, unexpected way. And I think in the past, WWE would do this a little more often because I remember you and I, like, there was something that happened, we came back, or I think it was the beginning of a Raw episode, and they were just fighting out in the crowd. And we're like, man, that was awesome. Like, they need to do that more. Like, I want to get something like come back from commercial and something happens. Don't beat it to death, but man, you throw that in once in a while. That's like, hey, just because it's commercial time, don't like take off too long because something might happen right when you get back. So I thought it was a great segment. I just
Nothing
don't get Pat and
sold.
Gunther.
Nothing sold that bit more than Pat McAfee turning purple.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Gunther had it cinched in. Now, I don't know if he's like me. Like, if I exert myself, I start turning red. It's just how I am. So, but him turning purple or red or whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it, like, because I'm like looking at it, I'm like, his head looks like it's about to explode like a zit. Like, holy cow, like he's really cinched in. And I was like, I I started questioning things. Like, I know they were doing a great sell on it. You know, it sold McAfee standing up for Cole. It was an interesting transition to bring Tessitore down. Like, there was a lot of kind of nifty stuff in that.
Yeah.
So like I appreciated the thoroughness. I appreciated them escorting him. I appreciate their GM there, like being
They
like,
called
"Yo,
him.
get him some water," and he's just hacking and spitting and everything. Like, it was done really well. There was a lot of really good stuff on the Raw After Mania, but only 3 matches,
No,
3
I
in that
didn't
whole
like that.
night. No, I don't mind it because you know what? We're moving stories along, right? This is a talk because like Raw After Mania is about moving stories ahead. All right, time to launch what we need to launch, or people come out and brag about all the cool crap they just did. So, of those 3 matches, we had Io and Stephanie Varger,
Vakir. I think it's
Fakir. Excuse me,
Vakir.
I wrote it down right and then I mispronounced it. So go figure. So like that match was really
That
good,
was.
and like it was entertaining to watch. And then on top of that, like it was nice to see that you got the like NXT folk involved
Yes.
and it made a lot of sense. I think it did a lot there. So obviously they had stuff going on Tuesday for NXT. So it set up a lot of that, but on top of that, Rhea coming out and just basically being like, "I'm coming for my title." Like, Bianca doesn't need to be in that title picture. I don't, if I recall correctly, Bianca's actually a SmackDown talent right now. Draft coming, asterisks, but right now she's a SmackDown talent, so she doesn't have to come back into the picture. It can just be, and I think we talked about this in our predictions for longer term, which is you run back Io and Rhea.
Yes.
And I think this will be an opportunity. You'll go into it. You'll talk about how like Io and Rhea can never get over Io, never beaten her in singles, blah blah blah. Like you run that whole angle all the way through. Because look, the reality is the flash to bang between now and Backlash is really short.
Yes. 2.5 weeks
It's like
now.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like there's a quick flash to bang for that. So like and I think that's why you're not getting a lot of epic builds. You're just getting quick rehashes and you're going to get what you get, right? Which makes the sense of CM Punk and Roman Reigns versus Seth and Braun. That makes sense.
Yes.
But you know, we're gonna wait until it's official to talk about it. But we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead on that. But yeah, kudos. Like that match up until the interference was brilliant. It was amazing to watch, and good on Io, man. That's back-to-back nights, and Verger like had a. And look, when it comes to naming people, I'm gonna admit it right now to you folks. I slaughter names. I still get teased to this day about how I say Champa. So I used to call him Chiampa or whatever. So I used to butcher his name for months on end. So it's going to take me a
Well,
minute.
great. We're really good now because between you can't pronounce names and me with my Boston accent. So yeah. So sorry to anybody's name we mispronounce or screw up bad. But yeah, that match was awesome. That
That match was so good. And like, I give them their props. I give them their props. Um, then we had the tag team women's title. Okay. You know, it did its purpose, right? Like they lost, it was fluky. Becky does her heel flip. Hopefully next Monday we'll find out like what's going to go on with that. I think we need a little more info. I already said it once, I'll say it again. I'm really pulling for put Becky in a stable with Paul. Like, just make this powerhouse. So, like, the bloodline was good, but you only had the Usos and then you had Roman. You added Solo, but Solo really wasn't established. I would love to see Paul. Sorry, somebody keeps on trying to call me and might do not disturb keeps going through. Anyways, so I would love to see just a powerhouse stable. We haven't had a powerhouse stable in so long, and when I say that, when it was like Orton, Flair, and Triple H and that whole crew, like that was such a that was all super talent, right? And I want to see that, but I want the mixed gender super talent. I want them to have all the gold. I want to go for the belts. I want mid-level titles. I want championship titles. I want tag titles, and I want the women's title. I want all that in that faction. I want them, and I thought Judgment Day was kind of building up to that at one point, and they kind of petered off on that. I want this faction to be just unstoppable.
Yes.
I want it to be like the all-star team of wrestling. I want people to look at that team and go, oof. Because it is, right? I mean, just with Seth and Braun, it's an all-star team.
Yes.
Like they're both super talented. But if you can add a couple more in that stable where they're just running roughshod and Paul's just like, I want it all. I want everything. And they just start racking up titles, racking up titles, racking up titles. I think it could be some really great storytelling and it could stretch all the way to War Games. And I think you could probably stretch it all the way to Mania next year,
Oh,
depending on how you got folks planned out. Because that's the underrated story, and this is why I think that The Rock is full of crap. The, the Triple H era has taught us one thing: there's always everything's long-term booking.
yes.
We reach back into the past, we book way ahead, and we know where the stories are going. We knew this. And they did it last year, and they did it this year, and there's always a long term plan. So you're telling me we just audibled and changed everything up in the last couple of months? Like, come on, man. Like, I'm not buying it because there's always a plan and a road to get there.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a little insulting that The Rock does it. I think he's a little narcissistic on his side too. Like he's just playing with the W, like it's his little toy. He's just like a cat with a ball of yarn, just batting it around. It's just yeah, it just the wrestling fans are smarter than I think what The Rock thinks, and it did. It just kind of
He's treating it like the 90s.
yeah, where it's just a bunch of parents taking their like prepubescent kids and buying them foam fingers and Hulk Rules T-shirts. It's not that business anymore. It's an older crowd. Well, you know what? It's an everyone crowd again. It's older, younger, midterm. I see that a lot now. It's just not a lot of parents taking their kids. It's a bunch of college guys going, or families going. So or even older couples. So it reaches out to all demographics and ages, which is cool. So it's not a children's product, and they still got like cute little stuff like Alpha Academy that the kids can like and other things. Um, but they've done a better job of getting away from that. It was starting, back in the 20 teens, late 20 teens there. It was getting very kiddish with a lot of the stuff. With the Bootios, which the Bootios was funny, but every commercial was a toy. Every sponsor was a toy or a kid's snack or something geared towards like an 8-year-old. It's like, I'd watch it. I'm like, are we watching wrestling or are we watching Nickelodeon? So I'm glad they've done that and they've got it to where they can actually satisfy people from all ages.
I agree. You mentioned Alpha Academy. Alpha Academy was supposed to have a match. They did not have a match.
Oh, when I meant for
Alpha,
kids, I was thinking Otis and Tozawa. I always get those.
I know.
Yeah. Hey.
No, that's Alpha Academy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
but they were supposed to have a match with New Day.
Hmm.
So, first off, it went the way it did because it was just to be like, hey, look, Rusev's back. Like, okay, cool. That made me happy. The biggest takeaway I had from that match was Maxine Dupree on the ramp, on the mic, acting as a quasi manager. I want her as a manager. She is on the cusp of being something special as a manager. I think that I love Tozawa. Otis is always going to be over. He's the giant teddy bear of WWE. Like everybody loves him, just wants to hug him. They just love his character, right? Like everybody loves that guy, and he's talented. They need to figure out something for him. I don't need him to be in a mid-level title, but I need him to. I need something for him. Either give him a better partner. Tozawa doesn't have to leave the group, but I need something a little more intimidating than Tozawa. Right? Not the lovable underdog. I need something better, and I need Otis to go over. So I need that. I need that in my life.
Something like when he was in Heavy Machinery back in the day.
Yeah, but I didn't like his partner then.
No, but I'm
So
saying somebody that's a little bit more credible rather than a 150-pound guy that does some cool stuff, but like at the end of the day, he's fighting two guys, he's going to get his ass kicked.
yeah.
Tozawa. But no, I
Um,
thought Maxine was like really good on the mic too Monday night. She was real strong on the mic.
she had a presence about her that I immediately picked up on. Her presence was impressive. And like I want that now because like I bought it. I thought it was credible and I thought it was a just really well done and it shows what she can be. Make her a manager and give Otis somebody else or give that group something else other than I don't need her going against what's her name from American Made, the pit bull there.
Yeah, yeah, I know who would.
I don't need her going against her. Um, I just I need her as a manager, like a legit manager. She has in-ring skills now that, if she got pulled into the ring, she might be able to defend herself. Make her a manager. But I think that's enough on that one. So the show actually started out with John Cena, and John Cena basically cutting the "I'm taking my ball and going home eventually. Here's how many times you'll get to see me, and that's not matches. This is my countdown." And I thought that was pretty clever.
I like the little countdown thing. That was like
I give him credit for
visual.
remembering all the locations he showed up for. Like
Yeah,
I was like, it was like this, that, Paris, London, Vegas. And I was like, whew, good on you, big guy.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I have to write that down, but he can't get away with that because he called The Rock out for that. But so I liked his promo. I don't think it was one of his greatest promos, and I think there's still stuff that he could do. I'm not faulting him for it. But what I do want and what I do like is Randy Orton coming out and just giving him an RKO. And there's a lot of cute stuff floating around right now. People got great angles of Randy coming out. People got angles of before the show, Randy getting under the ring. He came out and pretended to be like one of the guys setting up the ring and then crawled under. Like there's a video of it
That's
and it's
cool.
pretty cool. So
Seen
like
the one where he
credit to
comes
Randy
out
Orton.
from underneath, but I didn't see where he actually got in there an hour before the show or whatever it was under the ring. That's cool.
So I think the thing that we all have to accept for like the remainder of like Cena's appearances are it's fantasy booking now. Like we're just running it back. We're just gonna run back, oh, him and now we got him and Randy. So there's a longer term story there with Randy. Like I would be happy if Randy took the title off of him.
Yes.
I don't want that at Backlash. But I would love for Randy to take the title off of him and then I I think that could be a SummerSlam thing,
Yes.
and then somehow that morphs into his face change, and then we can get Randy Cody. I don't need to see Cena Cody again. It doesn't matter to me. Cena Cody doesn't matter to me. What I really want is they're doing what they should do with Cena, which is fantasy booking, right? So let that run its table, and then we get to the end of his thing. So right now, Randy Cena is good. I'm happy with it. I want a couple of match program for that, and I think they're both solid on the mic too.
I think so.
Randy's not going to be intimidated,
No.
so
And I
you
think
know,
they'll work together. They've worked together many times in the past, so
yes.
it'll be good stuff. long as there's no Travis Scott.
God, I hope
That's
we're
all.
done with that whole
I
angle.
think.
I really do, man. And it's not him. It's just he's not credible, right? I don't care about his weight. I don't care about his size. I don't care about any of that. Either you show up or you don't. You have to establish yourself as credible. So, and they never did that. He just showed up. He's just a guy. I could have rolled out and done the same crap that he did. Like it doesn't move the needle for me other than he's a celebrity and he's involved, but there was nothing there that like from a wrestling sense that made you think like, ooh, like if he was just running around randomly cracking Cody in the head with chairs or whatever, like I could buy it. Like, ooh, what's he going to do this time? You could have went that angle, but you did no build with him. So he's just a dude that walks really effing slow. Enough about Travis Scott because he wasn't there Monday.
No, he
You know
wasn't.
who was? Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. And they wrapped up the end of the show for Raw. Obviously, Punk comes out, because he lost his best friend. Now, Heyman, again, if you haven't seen the McAfee interview, folks, you got to go out and watch
Awesome.
it because he answers all this. Like, if you're wondering to yourself, why did he do that to Punk? Well, he was pissed at Punk because Punk put him in the position that he did by making the favor him being in his corner. So makes perfect sense.
Yes.
If you were my friend, you wouldn't put me in this horrible position with my tribal chief or however you want to put it, right? Roman Reigns getting physical with Paul Heyman. That is why he turned on freaking Roman Reigns. That's why that makes sense. All the storytelling leading up to him turning on both of them made perfect sense. It was brilliant. He could have went way deeper with Roman though. I would have called back to when he got put through the table and Roman wasn't
There.
there, you know, and when he was having hard times and Roman wasn't taking his calls and all that. I would have totally went that route. The Punk thing, you got to kind of walk a little bit different. Punk just came back, and I think his reasoning was fair though. Like, if you really were my friend, you wouldn't have put me in this craptastic position.
I
So,
love the analogy you used with Pat about, bringing the woman out to have him, is what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. He goes, and then I do it in front of your wife. I bring this woman out to try to entice you to have a little fling with her because it's in Vegas, which is bad enough. But then I do it in front of your wife. It's just a real. I love the analogy that Paul uses there. Like when he talked about Seth, it was. I mean, Seth and Punk. What Punk did to. What Punk did to Paul. I'll spit it out. So I mean, he
yeah,
did. He did. He put him in like the worst position possible, and a real friend wouldn't do that. They wouldn't put the friend in a position like that.
I will say that during that end segment, there was a moment where I really thought if Paul Heyman is brilliant with facial expressions, and there was a moment I think when Reigns got Seth, and Seth got rolled out of the ring, and Paul was like, "Ooh, maybe I didn't make such great life choices right now," and like he kind of sold it as that, and that's when Braun Breaker shows up, and you're like, "Oh, look, Braun Breaker's part of Paul Heyman's stable now." He went to the grocery store,
Yeah.
so um,
And he got some prime grade A U.S. meat right there, boy. They got
oh yes, he did.
Braun is
We
a stud, no doubt about it.
so as I mentioned, the interwebs are rumoring that it'll be a tag match at Backlash, which on the surface makes a ton of sense, especially if Reigns is available. I think after that, you just let Punk spin off, and I think that'll keep Punk busy. You get the Randy Cena match, and I think you might even get a little more mileage out of Randy Cena, which will keep Punk away, but you got to keep Punk occupied. So I really think if it's not Roman Cena, and I think you might save that. You might save that as a lead up to the towards the end. So if it is true and The Rock is his last match, like The Rock's going to end his career, then I would almost tap into the Samoan thing like towards the end and just give it some continuity so you can knock out all the rest of your fantasy booking as you're running through this and all right, I truly believe Cena's going over Randy somehow, some way, shady stuff, whatever have you. um I think Cena goes over, and then you go further down the road, and then you get to SummerSlam, and then maybe you get the big
Bingo.
payoff, which is Punk, but Punk's also tied in with this Rollins thing, so I guess he's busy right now because his best friend jilted him. So all in all, I think they redeemed themselves on Monday night. I think a lot of stuff makes sense. Nothing's always going to be perfect, but compared to last year, this Mania was kind of definitely a notch down. It wasn't horrible by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a notch down.
Yeah.
So
I,
I guess
I think right now people are really kind of crapping on the show because there was some stuff that really didn't work, but the main thing is the main event. I think when we go down the road a little bit, we look back at this show. I think there's enough good stuff with people like, yeah, it was a successful show. It was a good show. Mosquitoes are
the
up,
funny
by the way,
part
in
is
Florida.
good news, we're wrapping it up, but one quick thing. So the funny thing is, if you flip those two main events, that night two is an epic card.
Oh,
Like that night
absolutely.
two is off the chain. But the problem is it also takes night one and makes it a giant crap fest. And like
And
it
the main event should always be the world
just
title at WrestleMania. The biggest title should be defended last.
the biggest drawback is as much as and I think Busted Open said this too, so I want to give them credit, but I also thought I had this thought. If that if that triple threat brought up night one, the main event of night two brought down night two. But we had a excellent, amazing, and very meaningful Raw After Mania,
Yes.
and we are now on to the new season. So, as we talk about the new season, folks, here's the deal. Matt and I are going to be dropping episodes roughly about every Tuesday. Uh, we'll do those so you get a SmackDown, you get a Raw recap, and if there's a PLE in the middle, we'll also knock that out. If there's anything hot and pressing that we really think about that we need to talk about, i.e., The Rock sucks, we'll do a mini bite and do a quick do a pod on that. But just expect our shows now to be very much shorter. Keep in mind we also did cover 3 shows on this one
Yes.
podcast today, but yeah, our shows will be shorter. Um, and then on top of that, we'll start releasing on a Tuesday. So that's all I have for right now. Matt,
That's
what you
all I
got?
got. Yeah, just hey, it was a good fun weekend. I enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. Put your comments below about what you liked or didn't like. And yeah, we'll see you next week. And we're on TikTok and we're on Spotify under If We Had the Pencil.
And
So
YouTube.
and YouTube as well. Uh, so yeah, we're on those three, and hopefully we'll be joining more down the line that we're looking to do. But again, hey, thank you all for coming in, listening to us, and Sean, back to you.
All right, folks, have a good one. SmackDown Friday. Hopefully it gets epic. Talk
Yeah.
to y'all later. Out.